Optics, man.
So Eric said that he's not going to talk to me today, that he's just going to kind of move things around and get everything perfect.
That's what we do.
And that I'm on my own.
It's your show.
So I'm late.
It's never my show.
Because I was at the dentist. And I'm at the dentist. And I'm getting my teeth cleaned, which is, you know, one of the more pleasant experiences in life.
You don't like that probe thing?
Oh my gosh. You don't mind if we use the ultrasonic here and it's like it's going right through every part of your body. But finally she stops and, you know, it's nice. She's like triple masked. I don't even know who this person is, and with the plastic shield in front of her.
And a mask.
And the dentist comes in, and the dentist is in a great mood, and they poke around a little bit, and she says, "Everything looks great. How does it feel?" And I sat up. I said, exactly. That's what I try and figure out every day. How does it feel? I honestly don't care what things look like. I don't care what you're wearing. I don't care that much about the light. I don't care about what I'm seeing. I care what I'm feeling. And
Yes.
all my photographs come from what I'm feeling.
Bingo.
So the dentist figured it out.
Well, and that was the first thing I recognized from our very first conversation, was that this man is not a photographer. I can't define exactly what he does, but he uses cameras and produces prints and slides over the years, but you're not a traditional photographer.
I am the music man. I have had a baton, which has actually been my camera, and I've had a parade. And the first person I photographed started the parade. And every day when I photograph a new person, they're in front of the parade. They get to be in front of the parade. But now there's this huge parade, and how are they all connected? They're all connected by the fact that I have photographed them. We've had this experience.
Got it.
And it is, I couldn't even imagine the parade when I started. When I've been deep into it, I didn't want to think of the parade. And now at this tender age.
This tender age.
Not that
much older than me. Don't be saying that.
I am able to appreciate the parade. I am able to put some pictures finally up on a wall and say, oh, look at how they're all connected. And look at this parade. And it feels good.
It's like a tapestry. It's a tapestry of your life.
Exactly.
Yeah, and each photograph's a little marker.
So yesterday, let's make it current. Yesterday, I'm photographing a woman who is the head CEO of UPMC, one of the largest healthcare providers in the country. And she has all these handlers. And this is a big assignment I'm working on for RK Mellon Foundation, one of the biggest foundations in Pittsburgh.
Certainly.
And I'm doing their annual report, and it's been thrilling. I've been meeting the most amazing people. But yesterday was actually the last shoot, and it's with the head of UPMC. And she has all her people, and they're going, okay, what are you doing? You have 15 minutes. I go, oh, then let me do 2 locations. And they go, 2 locations, you have 15 minutes. I go, I'll be all set up for you. And I set up one outside. The trees were blooming, was very nice. I set up one in a balcony overlooking the lobby and, you know, beautiful light. And she meets me outside, and the clock's ticking. And I take her aside and I say, I just want you to know our job, our mission is putting love out in the world. That's what we're doing. And when you tell someone in that position, that is very counterintuitive to how they're spending their day.
Certainly.
But yet, it could be counterintuitive to how a photographer should be spending his day. But I want to set the intention. I want to set it so this is the most important thing. All the other things, you know, the light, the hair and makeup, all that stuff, we can take care of that, but this is where our heads have to be.
Got it.
So she smiles at me and goes, okay, we're putting love out in the world and appeasing George. And we take this picture outside, and she's squinting a little. It's a little too bright, even though I have her silked and a light, and it's very nice, but it's not my shot. I go up in the balcony, and she stands there like she would always stand. I said, no, lean against the wall over here and just turn towards me. She goes, oh, okay. And then it became much more intimate and felt much more real and felt good. And the guys are watching, you know, looking at their watches or maybe their phones, or they're getting their time, and they're going, you know, you better hurry. I go, we have 3 minutes left. Let's run down the hallway. And she goes, what? I said, let's go running down the hallway. Now, the hallway is completely nondescript, hospital hallway. It is nothing. There's some available light. There's some fluorescent light. The light's not even great, but I need to get her moving.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She goes running with me. We go running down the hallway.
Of course she does.
Those pictures, you've never seen pictures of her like this. It's fantastic. There was another woman I was photographing at this retreat, and we were doing a lot of pictures, and she just was not coming around. She was not like able to open up for a photograph, even a George photograph.
Okay.
So I take her out in the middle of this lawn, and I take her hand and start swinging her in circles. And I'm shooting with one hand and holding hers with the other and swinging. Every single frame is a gem.
Wow.
Because the moment we became physical, she could let go of all the stuff in her head, and we could put love out in the world.
And that, what you just described, is the George Lange experience. I've had it, friends I know, on 2 occasions. You last time you were here, we were leaving. Of course, you had your camera in your hand, and you said, "Go run out in the street." Now, this is not, for friends who don't know where we are, it's not like a residential street. It's a 2-lane, rather somewhat busy highway. So running out in the street's like, wait, there? I run out in the street. People were like, well, when they saw the photo, they're like, that's a great photo. They're like, how'd you get out in the street? I'm like, I said, when George Lange asks you to go play in the street, you go play in the street.
That's so funny. Okay, so I realized, this is the other thing. I moved back to Pittsburgh almost 4 years ago.
Wow, it's been 4 years?
4 years.
Wow.
And I've been doing these photographs since I was 7 years old. And I started in Pittsburgh and left after high school and have this wild career all over the world. And I come back to Pittsburgh. But the whole time I'm taking pictures, I never really know why I'm taking pictures. I knew I was earning a living. That was great. I was having fun. That was great. You and I both value fun a lot.
Yes, we do.
In our work. But I didn't know, like, what am I doing? Like, what's the reasoning behind this? And like, what's the thread besides the fact I photographed everyone in that parade? What else is kind of running through all those pictures? And when I came back to Pittsburgh, I got very clear. I moved back into the house I grew up in. You know that. And I realized I had a really happy childhood. And there was a very particular feeling of joy that I had growing up that made me very happy. And it was not so much smiley happy as it was a kind of joy that is how people connect and how we connect with each other. And it's how I connected with the world, and it made me feel good. So I graduate high school and I go to art school for college, and then I go and start photographing all these people. And what am I doing? Now I've come to understand that what I was doing was trying to recreate that feeling of joy that I had as a child with everyone. Most of them were strangers.
Right.
Some of them were famous. Some of them were washing windows or playing, youth football or whatever, or some of them are conducting orchestras. But whatever they're doing, I was trying to find that place and recreate that place that gave me joy, that allowed me to connect with other people.
That you remember from your childhood.
Totally.
Wow.
But I did it unconsciously my entire career.
Got it.
And in the last couple years, I've started appreciating this is what was actually going on.
And you think that reflection came when you moved back to Pittsburgh?
Totally. Because I would literally be at a shooting with sometimes very famous people and go in my head, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like, what's my style? What's my lighting style? What's the purpose of this?
Yeah.
And I could rarely answer that. I had all kinds of ways of creating this energy that I could create this energy and photograph that energy.
Right.
But I didn't know what it was.
Okay. The root of it.
Yeah. And so the last year, but let's say even the last 2 years, this idea became very clear. And then everything falls into place. How am I raising my kids? I'm raising my kids trying to recreate the joy I had as a child.
Right.
How am I being a husband? I am trying to recreate in real time, not in a nostalgic way, but in real time. And the story I just told you about the woman from UPMC, that was yesterday. Right. And I'm doing the same thing. 2, walking in the door here and knowing that A, I'm going to tell this story, but also what I'm trying to do is, and you and I have always done this,
yes,
is to find this place that we connect that is powerful.
Yep.
And I'm obsessed with that. So then what I did is I went back and I started looking at my shootings and writing about them. It's like, oh, there was that feeling. Oh, there was that feeling, with the cast of Seinfeld and Friends and all these people that I photographed to every picture with my kids.
Yeah, the story behind the photograph is every bit as important as the actual photograph.
Right. So I wrote these stories, and then, and this is funny with 2 bald guys describing it like this, but I thought of it like a head of tangled hair.
Okay.
And you're brushing the hair, you're brushing out tangles, and you do that before you go to bed.
Right.
And
I remember those days.
Yes. I actually don't. But you wake up the next morning and your head's still tangled. And so you do some more combing and that's how I edited this book that I just did. That is these stories, and I got them down to this like kernel of that feeling.
Right.
And I did 60 of them. Having the pictures to go with it is easy. I'm a photographer and I have lots of pictures and they're fun to share. But getting those stories put together and seeing the arc was so thrilling.
I bet.
So thrilling.
You get writing to release those memories again and put them out in the ether, but also for you to relive them again had to be the creative process of that book had to be intensely fulfilling. It had to be
intensely difficult.
Yeah, that too. Let me ask you about that process in regards to deciding what makes it and what doesn't. Because I'm sure you went through thousands of photographs, I'm sure, and probably thousands of experiences as well. But you have to narrow it down for practicality to what, 50, 60, 70.
Right.
So how did that process go? Are there some that are on the cusp that you're looking back going,
I cut a spread this morning.
I knew it.
But think of it this way. What if the story I told you was true? What if the story that I have been trying to recreate this feeling every day of my adult life is true? Then maybe if it's this story or that story, doesn't matter that much.
Well, wait, again?
Maybe it doesn't matter, like if I use the story of the picture of you or the story of the picture of Dwayne or the story of the picture of, I've been doing a lot of pictures for the Pittsburgh Symphony that are insane. I got to tell you about that.
Okay.
That's been wild. But, or the Pittsburgh Symphony pictures, like maybe like it's a little bit interchangeable and it's how they go together.
Okay.
So each individual one is important and I appreciate it, but it's more like, okay, if we use this, then if we do this, it's too similar, so let's do something else. Okay. And it becomes like I didn't want to use very many celebs because I didn't want it to be a celeb book, but like which ones go together? Sure. And I want to make sure that I have enough women and enough, people of color and everything else. So I want to have that all balanced out that reflects who I am and what I do, but also like I don't want to lose track of that. And I also didn't want to have a ton of kids in the book. Even though that's near and dear to my heart, certainly. I felt like this is not a kid book.
Right. Okay, I get that. I still say the process had to be. I mean, George, seriously, how long did it take to sift through that, and then decide?
Well, this is the thing. If I could have spent this winter working on this edit for this book, it would have been awesome. Okay. But I'm also in one of the busiest, most creative photo shoot periods of my life.
Right on.
So I'm doing all these shootings on the West Coast, all over Pittsburgh, and because I'm obsessed about editing like you, I'm actually doing all the editing and a lot of the post-production that is very time consuming. So I'm like doing the book in buckets, but I'm not able to take like a month to just work on the book.
Yeah, got it.
So that's what makes it a little bit harder, but it also gives you a little bit of space.
Yeah, get a little bit of breathing room. Just step away from it for a day or two and come back to it.
But it's super. This book's called Picturing Joy. It's coming out in the fall.
Yes, we're going to talk about it.
But it's also on a super tight deadline.
Okay.
Like, if I would have gone with a publisher, it would have been a 2-year process and lots of back and forth and everything else. This, I started writing it in December. It's coming out in October. Like, that's a very short deadline for a book.
Well, let's talk about the book.
Okay.
So, I mean, I am one of many. It's not my idea, but I'm saying I'm one of many people that I'm sure have told you that you need to put a book out, George. And you already had. But I mean this kind of book. Yeah. This was the kind of book.
And that's really why the book happened. Because so many people on my post that I was kind of writing stories that eventually got edited into the book,
right,
on social would say, "Where's your book? Where's your book?" And then I was hanging out with Dwayne Michaels last spring in New York, a photographer that I love, and has been on Eric's show.
Absolutely.
And
I never had an interview quite like that, I will tell you. Dwayne, if you happen to see us, my friend, you're welcome back anytime. I'm still recovering, but you're welcome back anytime.
So Dwayne's showing me these small art books that he's helping photographers make. He said, I tell them that if you can come up with the idea, I'll pay for the book. And I'm going like, I want to do that. I want to do one of your books, and I'm happy for you to pay for it. But I don't say that. It just is in my head. Like, sure. I really want to do this book. And Dwayne does like several books a year. They're all, right. The design's wild. What he does is wild. Right. But we do a very different thing. Mm-hmm. But that planted the seed along with people saying, where's your book? So come December, I start putting together a book and also seeing, okay, how does this self-publishing hybrid model work? Because that's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I found a group called Indelible Editions, a woman named Dinah Dunn, who's an editor there. And she started working with me. And we started putting this together. And she said, we're going to do...
In December?
Yeah, we're going to start doing the text first.
Okay.
Because the text has to stand on its own. We know you have great photographs, but I want the text to be really strong, the stories to be really strong. So we worked on that, brushing the hair, brushing the tangles, back and forth. George, this is great. It's like, no, this does not quite say what I'm trying to say, or this doesn't feel right, or... Like, I'd wake up the next day and say, oh, it's still tangled. I got to keep brushing. So we worked on the stories and then finally, locked it in. Here are the stories. Now let's work on the pictures and the layout.
So there's essentially 60 stories in there, is that right?
Yeah.
60.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stories, George.
But they're short.
Yes, true.
I'd say 60 big ideas.
I want to drill down for a second. I want to know what the cutting room floor looks like, that decision, because I know you and I know how torturous that has to be. It has to be. Okay,
so, I was up until 2:30 with Steffi last night going over layouts, and then again at 6 a.m. this morning. So that's how tortured it is.
Okay.
It is. Okay. And it's never going to be perfect. There are no right answers.
Right.
But it's like, it's like every day I go out, I walk in this room. How can we get this to feel as close to what we're feeling and thinking and wanting to share as we can? So I'm going to tell you the story of the parade. And I might tell you like this, waking up at the dentist going like, yes, it's about what it feels like, or all these things that all play into us trying to, and it's sharing who we are and what inspires us. But the real goal of the book and the real goal of our discussions is the people listening. And the people listening can go, oh, I know that feeling. Oh,
absolutely.
Maybe if this guy can say that ridiculous thing to this CEO, maybe I can tell my manager something that I've been holding in.
100%.
Or I can tell a customer, I can share something more personally with a customer, knowing that in general, the more you share of yourself, the more powerful it is.
100%. I think our conversations have always been, my eyes always open when I speak with you, because you have a way of being so authentic that it got me early 4 years ago. It got me to the point where I started to really examine who I was and what I was doing in this project in my realtor practice, and helped me look at my life in a more authentic way. And I know that word authentic gets thrown around a lot today in the social media world, but our conversations starting the way they did really helped me shape how I view my life now. I'm telling you that on camera because I really mean that.
No, I appreciate that. But should we tell them that the first couple conversations we had, we were lying on a couch, separate couches, but we would like take turn being the therapist because we were both broke and we couldn't afford a real therapist. So
pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
But Eric, the truth is, who else can you be?
Yeah,
I can only be George Lange.
Right.
I am the leading expert in the world on being George Lange.
Right.
You are the leading expert in the universe at being Eric McKenna.
Right.
And that is an ongoing project. The important thing is, apropos to a discussion we had before we went on, is appreciating how special you are and appreciating what a gift you are. And that is hard.
Sometimes it needs to start with paying attention. You know, like sometimes I wasn't paying attention to the idiosyncrasies of my life and how I feel about that and how they unfold. And, you know, you miss a lot if you don't pay attention.
Yes, but I don't think that you can do that much of it logically. I don't think, I think that you can also pay attention in ways that aren't up here than we're in here. Okay. I'm going to tell you another story. You ready?
Of course.
Okay. So I'm in Atlanta and we're visiting a cousin of mine who I haven't been in touch with for a long time, and she's a grandson who is my son Jackson's age, 15. And Jackson's really into baseball and sports and not very good at art.
Okay.
This other kid is an insanely gifted artist.
Like visual artist?
Visual artist. Like drawing all the time, working on a level you can't even imagine, going to a very exclusive school.
Got it.
On this like crazy program that one person got accepted. So he is in this world of art. So Jackson hasn't ever met him before. And we go down and they're hanging out. And honestly, it's not going great. I was hoping that they'd just bond and it would be awesome. But it's not going great. And I realized that on this weekend, Jackson wanted time with me. He didn't want to share it. So he's struggling with that a little bit. But this kid says to him, Jackson, are you creative? And Jackson just lost it. He lost it. Because this kid has been like so successful and his whole identity is in his creativity, which is creating art. And Jackson doesn't create art and he doesn't think that he's creative.
Okay.
So we go for a long drive. And it's rainy in Atlanta. And I've been very busy. And for 1 hour, we weren't going anywhere. We were just driving. We were just driving through Atlanta in the rain. And it was spectacular. Mm-hmm. Like just my son Jackson and I driving through. And I said, Jackson, this conversation that we're having is incredibly creative.
Oh, certainly.
That meal that we had for breakfast, our cousin made that. That was beautifully creative. Everything we're doing in our life is, especially you and the way that you relate to people, especially you and the way that you're on your baseball team and you support all the kids, especially when they strike out. That's an incredible act of creativity. And I said the ultimate act of creativity is loving. Mm-hmm. How you love is the ultimate act of being creative and being a creative.
Oh, most certainly. It's a great way to put it, George, but you're spot on.
And then he could appreciate what a gift he is.
Right.
That's what I was trying to communicate.
Yeah, that's pretty special.
And that's what I was trying to tell you when we're together. And not only to appreciate how special you are, but to appreciate the value of it.
Yeah, the value is the thing. Yeah, the value is definitely the thing. I'm learning. And I think that in all the work that we do with this podcast, with these conversations, with my book, with my pictures every day, what I'm trying to say is look at how beautiful you are. Look at the gift that you are. Mm-hmm. And share that not only with the people that I'm photographing or speaking to, but try and do it in a way that other people can appreciate their own gift. Right. And how... And that's a tall order, right? Because everybody is coming into your sphere in a different way. And you have to be able to figure that out. I mean, that's the thing that amazes me about how you photograph, where it's not a photo session. You're getting the story and getting the essence of that person and then masterfully photographing it, which is, you really can't even describe that process. That's uniquely you, I think.
Eric.
But getting that feeling, like, how do you get the feeling? Because everybody's different.
Describe kissing your wife. There's no more intimate way of communicating. I mean, you could make an argument, but for this, as kissing someone you love.
Right.
And when you kiss them, you are wanting to tell them how much you love them.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
In a very intimate way.
Correct.
If you do it the same way every time, you aren't saying that.
Correct.
So every day,
Okay.
if you give a perfunctory kiss, you aren't saying anything. But if you like have a little joke before it, if you like hold them a little bit differently, if you're even thinking in the moment and how much you love them and sharing that, that is the greatest act of creativity. So when people say, well, how can you come up with these ideas and everything else? All I'm doing is being in the moment.
Right.
Appreciating who I'm with. And really, I can't take a picture. I mean, I can't take a picture of myself. No one's going to be interested. But if I take a picture of someone else, I am sending my energy off of them. I am feeling their energy. And I'm photographing out of that place.
Got it.
And I've done it a long time. I'm very good at taking pictures at this point. Mm-hmm. But it's not automatic. It is not a formula, ever. I have resisted a formula. I don't even like to cook the same thing twice.
So, okay, when did you know that photography or the method of photography formula was not for you? When did you know that, when you first got interested in the camera, or did it take a while? When did you know that it wasn't just a remediary act of just doing the mechanics of it?
I went to a talk when I was in college up at MIT.
Okay.
And I had a little cassette recorder. It wasn't very good quality, and the person speaking was speaking very fast.
Okay.
And I recorded this talk. And I went back to school. It was in Boston. I was in school in Providence. And I spent a week transcribing this on a legal pad. And that was my Bible. Here is actually what my creative life grew out of.
Okay.
And the talk was by Dwayne Michaels.
Oh, and he was speaking fast?
Really fast.
Okay.
And he was on fire. He was on fire. And that, not even the whole talk, the first 10 pages are this whole idea that, you know, that time is going really fast, that here's now, oh, there goes now, oh, here comes a new now, there's, and all of that. It is that this photograph is my proof. There was this moment. We were together. Look, see for yourself. It is not taking yourself too seriously. Mm-hmm. Appreciating everything you're feeling with all of your senses, not just your eyes.
Okay.
It is rejecting anything you're taught at school. Because what you're taught at school, the rules are not going to help you be who you are, who you are.
Okay.
And all of that was in that talk. And that, if you talk about the real origin, those things might have been stewing, but he articulated them. And then I spent really my entire life playing off those ideas.
So is it safe to say you never looked at photography the same way again after that?
Totally. And that talk was a key. Take this key and open up your door. Don't open up my door. I'm opening up my door. I'm being the best Dwayne Michaels in the world.
Right.
You be the best George Lange.
Right.
And part of it, the way you do that, especially when you're in college, is having real heroes and emulating them, copying them. Mm-hmm. You know, mm-hmm. I'm going to try and be like Dwayne Michaels. I'm going to try and be like Annie Leibovitz. I'm going to try and be like Richard Avedon as an exercise. But that's not your career. Right. That's just kind of to figure out.
Right.
It's almost like I'm bouncing off the Annie Leibovitz wall. I'm bouncing off the Dwayne Michaels wall. But when I land, I'm a puddle of George Lange.
Right. Yeah, and that's and to do that effectively is, wouldn't you say it's like one of the keys of life, right? To take a little bit from everything you experience and use it to find out who you are. I mean, sometimes you go a little heavy here or heavy there, and sometimes you enter that world of plagiarism or for lack of a better word. But to take from everything you experience and all these people and circumstances, and then ultimately find yourself. And then I get it. It's easier said than done, for sure.
Yes, but the only way it can be done is if you do it. And so every day, when I pick up my camera, I try and be like it's an Etch-a-Sketch that you flipped over and shake.
Right.
And there's nothing there.
Right.
I don't want to bring ideas to the shooting. I don't care what the people that I'm photographing do. I'm not photographing.
That's amazing to me.
I'm not photographing what they do. I'm photographing who they are, because how can I don't want to be part of their PR machine.
Right.
Even though these pictures will get used that way. The woman from UPMC will love these portraits of her. They feel very different.
Right.
But the way I came at them, the reason they feel different is I came at them very differently too.
Different. Yeah, it's not the same.
And even like the rhythm, like there's a certain rhythm to everything we do. Mm-hmm. And if you just kind of get into the rhythm of what's going on, if you come down, if your kids come down, you can tell by their feet on the steps what the rhythm of the morning is, right?
No doubt.
And every day, if you really listen to it, their feet on the steps is like this beautiful soundtrack and click track to what is going on. In my house, by the grace of God, my family wakes up really like they're awesome in the morning.
They're ready to go.
They are.
Yeah.
It's like it's an incredibly positive place to wake up. It's wild. Like they are looking at the day like, what are the possibilities? Not like, oh shit, did you see the news? Like, oh, like this is climate change. Here it is, or like all the violence and all the horrible things going on. We know that's going on.
Right.
But when we come down the steps, the rhythm of our feet on the steps is saying, we are going to try and make this day really special. Mm-hmm. That is how our little family lives its life. And we go out into the world with that hope. That's if we were setting our intention, that's the intention. And it starts with trying to feel the rhythm. It starts before your eyes even open. Like before your eyes even open, like what's going on? Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm next to someone I love. Oh, I can touch her. I can reach over and touch her. I can reach over and kiss her. Mm-hmm. She is right there. Mm-hmm. And my eyes aren't even open. And the day's already awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, you're starting from a good position.
And then my son might come in and I'll say good morning with my eyes closed, and he'll have some wild something going on in his head.
I have no doubt.
and it's all fantastic. It's all and it is all there for all of us. Like I know that horrible things are happening. Mm-hmm. I'm not stupid. Mm-hmm. I know that we're all going to die. Mm-hmm. We know that, and we're getting older, and we're feeling all kinds of stuff, and those things are going on. Mm-hmm. But we try to create a place of joy,
right?
A place that gives us joy, a place that we can receive and share joy with our people in our immediate family, with our friends, with our neighborhood, with the people at the kids' school, with the people that I photograph, with all the people that you interview, with the people that we work with. Right. Like they're all like, it's all a possibility to, if nothing else, have fun. Mm-hmm. I mean, to not take it so seriously. Mm-hmm. I don't want to take people lying seriously. I don't want to take violence seriously. I don't even want to take, I'm going to regret saying this, but I don't even want to take racism seriously. Those are not things that have to exist. Right. And the way that we fight all the horrible things going on in the world is with love. And love is inside of all of us.
No question.
And I sound completely corny here, and I totally believe it. And if we like empty off our Etch-a-Sketch and get back to the place that we can find love.
Amen.
That's it.
Amen.
That's it.
Amen. How do I comment on that? That should be like a period or an exclamation point. Tell me about the symphony, because I think the last time we met, you'd been approached, and that was somehow coming. I think last time we met, but you hadn't started yet.
Yeah. So I got hired to be the photographer for the Pittsburgh Symphony. And
of course you did.
Well,
that's not surprising.
It was totally thrilling because I didn't know what I could do with it, and at all.
Is the first time you photographed the symphony?
Oh yeah,
in your career ever?
Well, I've done a couple of classical musicians, like Yo-Yo Ma and Sophie Mutter and whatever, but almost nothing. Especially like when I would be knowing that I'd be photographing a lot of them, and the conductor. And the conductors. So the first shooting, there's a 22-year-old violist, the youngest person. He went straight from Juilliard to the Pittsburgh Symphony, the youngest person in the symphony. His name was Sean Jewell. And it's my first day of shooting for them. And Sean comes on with his white bow tie that kind of fits, and is like his tuxedo kind of fits. Doesn't fit perfectly. Excuse me. And he comes on and he has a little bit of an attitude. He's thinking, I find out later, this is going to be boring. 15 minutes, I'll play my instrument, I'll smile, get my picture taken, and that's it. And he comes on and starts playing. Well, first of all, when he's getting his makeup done, we had a hair and makeup, a groomer, which you didn't provide today. I know. Sean needed it a lot less than I do. So while he's doing it, I'm looking at the light in this part of this room. And he's being backlit, and it's like golden light. It's extraordinary. So I take that picture. I take a picture of him looking at me in the reflection of the light, which is not at all what I was there to do. And then I pulled back, and it turns out the architecture in the Mozart room at Heinz Hall is spectacular. But it was nothing on my radar. It was nothing. It was just like paying attention. And we got this spectacular picture of him. He wasn't involved in those pictures so much, but it was something I was doing. It was my warm-up exercise. Sean gets on. All the pictures I have to take against this backdrop that they had painted in Italy.
Okay.
And I have to use this certain style of light because it's their whatever. So those are my guardrails. So Sean gets on there and starts playing his instrument and smiles at me, and it's all fine. And I go, stab my lens. He goes, what? I say, take your bow and stab my lens. He goes, I can't do that. I said, why not? He said, you have an expensive lens. I have an expensive bow. I can't stab your lens. And it's like, stab my fucking lens. And finally, I grab his bow and like this. And he starts tapping my lens. That picture became the signature picture for not only what I would do for the symphony, but for the symphony. That picture is so dynamic and breaks like all these rules.
Of course it does.
But it was just something that came to my head. So I start doing that with all the musicians. Not so much stabbing, but coming up with things, let them do what they do for a little bit, and then start. And once they trust me, they'll play.
Right.
So they set up this shooting with the entire symphony that they need a group picture of the whole symphony. This is the worst picture to take. There's nothing that you can do creatively. There's nothing that you can do that's interesting.
You mean a group photo?
Yeah, of 80 musicians.
Right.
And I'm set up in the front of the balcony. And I bring my son Jackson to the shooting. I take him out of school. I said, your dad's shooting the whole symphony. You should see this. And I go up on the balcony and I look down and I can't see anyone's face. I'm too far away.
Right.
I'm miserable. I go down on the stage. I get up in front of everyone, including the conductor, Manfred Honeck, and they're all looking at me like, oh, there's the photographer that's going to take this picture that always gets taken, and we just got to stand here. It's no big deal. And I said, when I was 6 years old, my mother gave me a recording of William Steinberg conducting the Pittsburgh Symphony, and it's Beethoven's first symphony. And I had a little record player. And I would play it over and over on this record player. I'm explaining this to the whole orchestra.
Right.
And on the back was a picture of the entire Pittsburgh Symphony. And underneath it, it said, photo by Ben Spiegel. Ben Spiegel was a trombonist in the symphony who became the photographer. But I'm looking at this picture and I'm listening to this music, and I love this symphony so much.
Right.
I know every note.
Right.
I listen to it over and over again. And I said to myself, how did Ben Spiegel get the entire Pittsburgh Symphony to pose for him? And I said, here I am, 60 years later, trying to solve that problem right now. And all of you have to help me. I need all of you, just for a moment, to connect. And I'm going to run up in that balcony and take this picture, and every one of you is really important.
See, that's the difference. That's where you, I can't even articulate it. It's like you get the subject to buy into the experience as opposed to, oh God, I got 10 minutes to take a photograph.
Okay, so how did I do that?
Storytelling.
Right.
Engaging them.
Sharing something very personal.
For sure. Okay.
I shared a story that was intimate.
Got
I
it.
took them into my little bedroom when I was 6 years old.
Right.
All of them. And they're picturing that.
Right.
And they're picturing this whole thing. And then I bring it into the moment.
Okay.
So that's what actually happened there. But I do that all the time. I will tell a story, or I will start with something as intimate as putting love out in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know you. You know, we have 10 minutes together, and I'm setting our intention.
Yeah. And that's when I tell people a George Lange photograph is an experience. It's not the actual picture, which will be outstanding, and you'll love it because of the experience to get to that picture.
That's exactly right. Photography's never been my goal. The photograph has never been my goal. It's the experience. And the photograph is an artifact of the experience. Because I've been doing it for a while, I've gotten good at taking pictures.
Yes.
But that is not what I'm thinking about ever.
I noticed something early on when we got together. I was so happy to talk gear with you because I thought, leading up to that conversation, like, I really know a lot for an amateur. Like, I know the brands and the models. You just were completely disinterested. You were just like, yeah, I shoot Leica. I've got a Canon. I do with this. And I started rattling off other things. And you're like, it's just a tool. And I was so deflated, George. I was like, but then I realized, then I got it. Then I really, because I had never looked at photography that way, that's just a tool.
Right. So what do you think AI is?
Scary is what it is.
That's a big question.
What is it? I mean, it can be used as a tool.
It's a tool.
Hopefully, if it doesn't turn on us. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
I would turn on us now if you looked at us. I mean,
right. But like, there are going to be some things that it can do as a tool that are going to be brilliant, and it is going to change the way we think and see, because it will put things together in ways that we never thought of or imagined. And I think the fear is that it can do it so well that no one knows what the truth is. Mm-hmm. And I also think the fear is that, well, who needs to even write a paper or take a picture or do a video anymore when you can just give it a couple words and it puts something together?
Yeah, but wouldn't you say the key is going to be marrying human creativity with that technology?
That's the dream.
Right?
That's the dream. But if it's used by people that say that they, like, I worked for a company once and they all went around giving themselves creative titles and saying that they were creative, but they were all engineers and they really weren't creative. And those are the people developing AI.
Yes.
And that's the part that's scary.
Very.
But I still, you can add that to the scary things going on in the world. Mm-hmm. And I still believe all we have is this.
Right.
All we have is the sound of feet coming down the steps.
Right.
All we have is finding someone that we can love and making ourselves available to be loved.
I so agree with you. I always feel better after we talk. I do.
Well, it's fun. I was really looking forward to this because this getting together has been like almost, I don't want to say an excuse, but to take all these ideas and they kind of converge right here in this room. And they're all spinning around, and a lot of them are actually in my book or experiences that I've had, but I don't day to day, I don't think about it so much.
Right. This gives you an opportunity to reflect and put things together.
But I think that all of us are wanting to be loved, are wanting to love, are needing to be loved. Like, I really believe that. Like, even, I'm going to give you one more symphony story.
Sure.
The conductor is a very serious, very prominent,
of course,
very famous Austrian conductor, Manfred Honeck. He is really good at what he does. And what he does is like Mike Tomlin takes the Steelers, which is about 80 people, and creates a symphony. Manfred Honeck takes 80 people and works them together and really creates a symphony. Or, you know, and watching the process is astonishing. But when you go to a concert, all you see is the back of the conductor's head. It's the weirdest thing. Like, you never see their face. So the first time they hired me to photograph him, they wanted all these formal poses, and it was all very formal. And eventually he's on this green velvet sofa that I put him on. And I said, what color is the Bruckner that you did your last CD? Like, what color is that symphony? And he goes, oh, that's this shade of green. And he's very specific about the shade of green. I said, oh, then what color was that Tchaikovsky that you played? Oh, that's this color. And it was very, very specific. I had a light that I could dial in the color that he was talking about. So whatever color he mentioned, I would put that color light on him. Now, I have to say that shooting was not a huge success. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't the best thing that I was going to do with him.
Okay.
So then I do this thing where they had a dress rehearsal just for me to be roaming around on the stage. But they said, you can't move unless they stop playing. Well, I had just flown home from San Francisco on the red eye. I had gotten in at 7. This was at 9. I ran down to Heinz Hall. I'm like half crazy, and I'm on the stage, and I can't move. And I decide I'm going to plant myself at Manfred's feet and just look at him conducting. And it was wild.
I bet.
He's moving his hands underneath the podium to get them to make it quieter. He's actually vocal. Like making these noises and all this stuff.
It's a full body experience.
It's a full body experience.
Yeah.
And then when I saw that, it's like, oh, this is who he is. So a month later, we have another shooting, actually our first shooting in front of that painted Italian backdrop. And I put on a pair of Apple, the fancy cans, the headphones, and I start playing music for him. And his eyes are closed, and he's just in his world. And that's how I start the shooting, because that's how I'm setting it up.
Okay.
And then we start playing the music loud without the headphones. And he gets so animated, like wild. The people from the symphony behind me have like never seen him
that way
at a photo shoot like this. Like, he was just completely opened up. After 20 minutes, it was so wild. I said, this is great. Thank you so much. And he comes up to me, really? Do you think you're done? Do you think we got it? He says, I think there's some more to do here. He puts the baton in his mouth and starts conducting, but he is like right at my camera. And I'm yelling, and the music's loud, and there's all this stuff going on. He is in my face. And the pictures are so alive and so him. And it was just, this is what I do. Like, he is sharing all this love. You see him from behind with the orchestra.
Right.
They are rehearsing. He is thinking about this music. He is imagining this music. He's doing this whole thing. But there's this person there too that rarely gets shared in that way.
Got it.
And I wasn't doing anything miraculous. I was just sharing what's there. and creating a space that he could share that to.
Are these photos available?
They are, they're everywhere. If you go to Heinz Hall, they have all these video screens around Heinz Hall, and they made them blue, but they look amazing. They have an amazing designer there named Jay Nesbitt.
Okay.
And he took the pictures to a whole other level. And then they're on banners and they're in their ads and all their social.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's a really fun project. And ongoing. We just met yesterday to do a new CD cover. And the ideas for that are wild. They're wild. And they're coming to my studio, which is wild.
All of them?
Well, no, just Manfred. But we are building 2 sets for him.
Oh, that is so
One
cool.
of which
that
is
so cool.
We're taking a Tchaikovsky piece that is being recorded, and we're taking the manuscript and wallpapering a room and then doing a gray wash over it. And he's going to be the only color in the picture. The rest is going to be monochromatic.
I can see it.
It'll be beautiful. It's wild. It's totally wild. And then I was told that I really want to meet the R.K. Mellon Foundation, that they're doing amazing work, but they're impossible. It's very hard to get them to your studio. And when you get them to your studio, you need to have, like any foundation, you have to have your proposal and everything in order.
Right.
And that's not how I work. So I go to the August Wilson House. I meet the head of the R.K. Mellon Foundation, who is amazing, Sam Raymond. And I have a friend do an email introduction.
Okay.
Next thing I know, 2 weeks later, Sam Raymond and a person who works with Tim Reeves are coming to my studio. Steffi, my wife, says, don't ask for anything. Every place they go, people are asking them
of course.
To fund their projects, which are all worthwhile, but that's their life.
That's the mode they're in, right?
Yeah.
All
the
time.
Don't ask them for anything. So they walk in and I go, I'm so happy you're here. I just want you to know I don't have a proposal. I don't need anything from you. I just want you to know that I exist. And you can see instant relaxation because they don't have to be.
Certainly.
So by the time they leave, they go, we have this great project for you. And it was doing 16 portraits for their annual report.
Wow.
And I'm just finishing it up. And I've met the most extraordinary people doing the most extraordinary work, from conservation to homelessness to food banks to people rebuilding Tree of Life to I'm on a couple that runs a thing called the Minority Outdoor Alliance.
Okay.
In Atlanta, and they get African Americans, and which they are, and other people out into the wilderness to hunt and to fish, and they are so extraordinary, But everyone I met was just doing the most extraordinary work, and you realize, I didn't know anything about foundations before this, except you hear them at the end of.
Most people don't, I don't think.
You hear them at the end of all these
a PBS
things.
special.
Yes. Or in Pittsburgh, they support the symphony and all these cultural activities and all these great causes, but they are they're so thoughtful, and they're doing work that's so important, and they're helping people that are real visionaries.
Right.
I mean, they have dedicated their lives to helping homeless people on the North Side. And they are really making a difference. They are funding people who are doing just really important work. And it is one of the great privileges of my career getting to do these portraits with them, because I feel like my job is helping to communicate and tell the stories of these people doing great work in the public schools, in at the hospitals, in healthcare. It's really powerful. So both of us hone our skills, right? You've gotten very good at interviewing. You've gotten very good at editing and putting your podcast out in the world. I've gotten good at this photography thing. And then what are we going to do with those? And, you know, we got to make money. We got to earn a living. We have to have fun because we only get one life.
Correct.
But what are we going to do that is really going to give back and really going to let people appreciate the good things going on
Correct.
in the world.
Correct.
And the powerful things going on that really do change people's lives for the better.
Yeah. And that's part of why I wanted to do the show, was to give a voice to people doing that kind of work. And we've done that. I'd like to do more of it, but we've done that.
But you're giving a voice to conversations that need to happen.
I think so.
That get lost in the shuffle. You know, they aren't going to be on the news. They aren't going to be on any of the places that we get information. You know, they're in like there's certain podcasts that I follow.
Yeah, it's a niche thing. And for me, it's like I'm hoping that what we're doing too, in many instances, is a reminder to people that this is kind of how we used to live before technology really grabbed us and made us look at screens for most of our day.
Right.
Like, we used to do this, or a form of this. And I hope this is a reminder to people when they see it. Like, look, people still talk. Yes, we're filming it, but we're filming it to show the world that great conversations was part of everyday life. We've kind of moved away from that.
I mean, what you're talking about would be the equivalent of texting your wife in bed.
Yeah, pretty much.
You miss the whole connection.
Right.
And what I get
Correct.
off on, what my work's about, what my career has been about, what my being a dad and a husband is about, is this.
Right on.
Is connecting. I choose to connect with as much joy as I can because joy is my way in. And that is my common denominator.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I try to do that, but I just feel that it's so important that we not lose that. Like, the technology is fine, but the technology, like we discussed before, is a tool. And if we lose this, it gets really hard.
I would argue almost impossible.
Right.
So talk about the Kickstarter. Gotta get him back to
Thanks, Eric.
So he's over here talking about value. Know your value. Talk about the Kickstarter, George.
Okay, the thing about the Kickstarter that's crazy is, first of all, you set a goal, and if you don't reach it, you get nothing, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I'm halfway to my goal. I'm less than halfway in terms of the month that I have to do this.
Yeah.
But I have to hit my goal.
Right.
And the Kickstarter I created to help pay for the first 5,000 books to go out in the world.
Right.
Once we get past that, it'll be a self-sustaining thing.
Correct.
But to get the first 5,000 out is both expensive and I need help. So we put together a Kickstarter. There are all these fun things that you can get. You
Yes,
can
indeed.
get the book. You can get small prints. You can get larger prints. You can get me.
George will show up at your door.
I will. There are two that are really wild. One is it's $1,000, but you get a book. But Steffi and I created a box.
Yes, talk about the box.
In the box, you get a print of your choice. You get to pick an image. You get a print of that's signed. You get the story of the shooting. You get a T-shirt that Steffi custom designs for you to
right
your
on.
size
Right on.
with that image. And then she puts all these other things on there that make it completely unique.
Right.
And then she created a custom label that we sign.
Right on.
So the shirt is a work of art.
Right on.
And then we throw a couple surprises in.
Of course.
Including a signed book and great appreciation for supporting the project. I believe that this book will really help a lot of people and touch a lot of people
I believe
and
it.
share a lot of joy. And you
believe
can
it.
share it with each other in really fun ways. And I know if it gets out there, it'll be great. The other thing at the highest end, the highest level, and if someone just goes in and gets a book, I'm so grateful.
Certainly.
But at the highest level, I'm doing these team building events where I've done them for retreats and offsites and different companies, where I go in and give a talk where I talk about shoots and show pictures, and it's fun, and it's also like has some good what are we going to call it?
Team building.
Good interpersonal stuff.
Stuff.
Or good inspiration.
Yes.
On how to
inspirational interpersonal stuff.
Yes. And then sometimes I do a little photo workshop because we're all photographers. That'll give like tips for taking better pictures. And then I do a photo shoot. And the photo shoot is about the group and also making it about you. So we're making it a group experience and an individual experience at the same time. When I swung the woman around the lawn, that was at one of these.
Got it.
And so you wind up with really good pictures of yourself. You wind up with this experience where you've really connected with your group in a new way. And it can even be a family.
Right.
You wind up in George Land. It's a deep dive, but seriously,
George Land, I like that.
It's not so much, the way that it's designed is not so much to be about me as to show that place that all my work is created out of is inside of all of us.
That could be book title number 2, George Land.
That's funny.
After this one runs, it gets published, it runs this course and is in print with thousands of copies and out in circulation.
Yes.
5 years from now, we do George Land.
Yes, maybe even sooner.
That encompass, a big one.
Yeah.
Encompass like 1,000 stories.
Yeah. I got him.
George Land.
There you go.
I like that. My friend, did you have a good time?
I had a great time.
Yeah, you need to do this more often.
Yes.
I know you're busy.
No, but this is something I really look forward to. I feel like I can't come to Eric every day. Maybe once a week we'll have our sessions and work through all our issues.
We have no issues. The world has issues.
No,
we don't have any issues.
We have issues, but we are able to. There was a moment when I was taking a picture of this guy that does these hunting trips.
Okay.
And he trains pointer dogs. Do you know what a pointer dog does?
I do.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Those dogs get out there. They're not allowed to touch the quail or the bird.
I know.
They just pose.
Mm-hmm.
They just pose.
And they're good at it.
And they'll pose forever until you call them off. It's ridiculous. It's the craziest thing. They're just posing. What are you doing? I'm just posing. I'm pointing, I'm posing. But anyhow, he picked one up at one point, and I swear it was almost like a religious image. It was almost like he was carrying a sacrificial lamb through the woods.
Wow.
And I laid on the ground, and I said, just walk over me. And he walks right over me carrying this pointer dog.
Okay.
And that's the shot that Millen's going to use.
Oh, wow.
But I don't even know where I was going with this.
I don't know. That's a good story.
but all I can say is, that is in our lives every day, and we don't see it.
Right.
So I feel like the purpose of these conversations and the purpose of our work is to let people appreciate what is going on in their lives every day that they can embrace and enjoy and share.
Sums it up.
There we go.
To reach the Kickstarter, georgelange.com.
And there's a Kickstarter link.
There is. On your social media, it's linked there too.
I'm George.Lange, Lange on Instagram.
You can go find it.
I'm George Lange on Facebook. And actually just
Google
I'll give you Eric's private number, and you can just call him.
I know it's going to be a success. I saw how immediately well received the campaign has been. You'll get over the hump.
Thanks.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. And I'm already thinking about book 2. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Eric.
All right.
Take care.
We're out.